It's an admission long overdue.
Defence is now apparently admitting that it should have told the residents 3 years before they actually told them that there were toxic chemicals leaching from the RAF base.
Every single move that the Defence Department has made to this point has been a complete letdown for the community. They need to be held to account and they need to get us out.
The statement will be aired as part of a Four Corners story on the nationwide defence scandal.
We understand that Four Corners have actually conducted more water tests that have come back in stark contrast to Defence's own testing. This new round of testing has come back significantly higher.
Professor Mark Taylor, who headed the New South Wales government inquiry into the PFOS contamination, also says there's no way to feasibly remediate the site. While Defence admits a nationwide clean-up would run into the hundreds of millions of dollars.
The federal government needs to work out a plan how best they can support the residents who, through no fault of their own, have found themselves living a nightmare.
We need to see options on the table, ASAP, for families in the area.
Williamtown residents are in the midst of a class action against Defence. The matter will be back before the federal court at the end of the month. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
The jury handed down its not guilty verdict against Jesse Nikolowski late this afternoon under the direction of Supreme Court Judge Helen Wilson, who found there was simply not enough evidence to prove the charge of murder. 24-year-old Nikolowski and co-accused 25-year-old Daniel Petrick have been on trial for the murder of 41-year-old Robert Parry for the past 3 weeks. Mr. Parry was gunned down in his Wickham home in the early hours of March 7, 2015. While Petrick stands accused of firing the fatal shot, Nikolowski was also charged with Mr. Parry's murder because the Crown alleged he knew there was a possibility the gun may be fired when the pair entered his home. But in her ruling, Justice Wilson found there is simply no basis that he could have foreseen the possibility the gun could have been discharged and someone could have been killed. She cited evidence from one witness who claims Nikolowski was told the gun wasn't loaded, telling the jury that, as a matter of law, I have concluded the evidence does not in fact establish the fact of murder against Mr. Nikolowski. Nikolowski is still facing one charge of robbery whilst armed with a dangerous weapon. Petrick is still facing a murder charge. The trial continues.
It was billed as a world-class transport service. 3 months on, according to the union, it's anything but.
So far we've got workers who are not being paid right. We've got fatigue in the rosters that the workers are driving, and we've got stories of commuters and school children being left all across Newcastle.
We've given them 3 months to prove that this is a better system, and it is not. It is an absolute debacle.
Keolis Downer was handed the keys to Newcastle buses back on the 1st of July during Transport Minister Andrew Constance's privatisation push. Now concerned drivers and Labor MPs claim the only thing constant has been the problems.
I've had people approach me whose children have been left on the side of the road when they're trying to get to school. Once they've got them to school, they've been told that this is happening all the time.
They have treated the people in this community with contempt, and that is disgraceful.
The operators described the issues as teething problems. CEO Campbell Mason says staffing numbers and pay issues are being quickly addressed.
There's a journey here. We need to improve things over time. Not everything gets improved on day one.
A new network, including timetables, will be implemented early next year.
Is it a world-class service?
At the moment it's not, but we plan to turn it into one.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
From humble beginnings.
In 1992, the Institute started with Professor Trevor Waring as our inaugural director and I think a part-time administration person. We were a solution to our local education and training needs here in the Hunter.
to what is now a leading mental health organisation.
For 20 years we've been delivering our programs not just locally here in the Hunter but across Australia, and some of our programs like Mindframe have been picked up globally as well.
Today saw a milestone 25 years in the making.
The Hunter Institute of Mental Health is officially rebranding and renaming as Every Mind. I think Every Mind is such a positive concept about bringing everyone to the table, everyone's capacity to have a role in mental health and in suicide prevention.
The launch time to coincide with National Mental Health Week and World Mental Health Day.
The 10th of October each year, 10/10, is World Mental Health Day. And I think it's really important to have those sort of days, both to mark our progress to date, but also to re-energise our efforts as we look to the future.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
The Jets aren't used to being top of the table, but they're not letting their spirits soar just yet.
Clearly it's only the first game and we're keeping our feet on the ground.
With a new coach and largely new team, a 5-1 scoreline in the opening round certainly wasn't expected.
I'd be lying to say if I thought we were going to score 5 goals in our first game, but I knew that with our front third, they've got goals in them. They're proven goal scorers already.
It could very well have been more.
I got it on target, so that's a half a goal in my books.
Sunday's clash with Perth will be the first home game in Jets colours for Top or Stanley since 2012. An integral part of a formidable new-look backline, he already feels he's made the right decision to return to Newcastle.
It's one win. Let's put it in perspective. We've got a long way to go. I feel like we're heading in the right direction. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have come here.
The early ladder leaders are hoping for a vocal home crowd on Sunday.
I've experienced the passion of Newcastle people for football. I know it's right up there, and I'm really hoping that we can get a really good crowd.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
A heart condition ended Seabomb's playing career at just 19.
I was really fortunate to, survive that and be able to keep doing something that I love. I'm not able to play basketball anymore, but now I'm sort of diving right into coaching and I've really loved it.
He started as an assistant with the Sydney Kings in the NBL and then won Coach of the Year with the WNBL's Flames in the 2014-15 season. Seabomb would help to create history in 2016, leading the Australian side to an under-17 world title. But a coaching director's job with Newcastle Basketball presented the perfect opportunity to get out of Sydney and set up his young family.
So I work with all the junior athletes and the coaches here in Newcastle, and hopefully, be able to implement a style of play and some consistent philosophies that we use across the program.
The 29-year-old's ultimate goal is to coach a Newcastle side in the WNBL, hopefully working with the likes of local Sapphires Lara McSpadden and Cassidy McLean, as well as Opal's Katie Ray Ebzery and Susie Batkovic. In the meantime, he'll take charge of the Hunters women in the Waratah League.
The aim with that will be to start to build that program into a feeder type thing for the WNBL when that comes about.
Meryl Swanson says enough is enough.
I'm calling on the Prime Minister to put his solutions and his plans on the table in Williamtown so that our community can actually see how this government is going to step up and fix this diabolical mess.
The plight of Red Zone residents was in the national spotlight last night in a Four Corners investigation into the contamination scandal.
Now if someone was to buy or purchase our property, it would say in the paperwork that we were now under a long-term investigation for chemicals leaking from the RAAF base Williamtown.
Now, these are regrettable situations that people find themselves in. I understand that people would feel let down. There's no doubt about that.
We didn't put ourselves in this situation. They put us in this situation. It was very hard to watch. Obviously, it was hard to see Steve's reaction of being so unempathetic.
I hope that the public can actually see and understand what we're going through, because it's a feeling of helplessness.
Also shown, Defence's water decontamination efforts, part of a nationwide taxpayer-funded clean-up.
We know that we've got a long way to go in terms of a total decontamination process, but we've started that process.
It's not enough. The water's still coming our way. There is still contaminated water flowing from that base every single day coming into our community.
Defence has issued a lengthy response to the latest revelations, reiterating remediation efforts and pledging support and assistance. While NBN News sought comment from Defence Minister Marise Payne, she's yet to reply.
The Minister Marise Payne, she has completely neglected her duty of care. It's one thing to be a Minister for Military Operations, but you also need to protect Australians at home. And the Defence Department has done a terrible job of doing that to the people of Williamtown.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. For supercar fans, the countdown is on. With 44 days until the inaugural Newcastle 500, visitors are now looking beyond the city limits for places to stay, including Port Stephens, the Hunter Valley and Lake Macquarie.
Supercars is driving demand into the country, which is a fantastic result, and a result that we've all anticipated and wanted to happen, and it looks like it is happening.
Lake Macquarie is spruiking its caravan parks as an affordable alternative, with accommodation prices ranging from $32 to $225 per night. Port Stephens is also starting to see interest. The region's peak tourism body says houses, apartments and holiday rentals are filling up.
A lot of the holiday parks are seeing a lot of family groups coming in, and our hotels and resorts are seeing couples that are booking in as well. So it's getting there. Sure, we'll see a strong occupancy rate during that Supercars weekend.
And as the supply of rooms dwindles in the city centre amid rising prices, tourism advocate Will Creedon believes the broader region will continue to benefit.
There is demand. People want to come. And look, at the end of the day, there is a finite supply of rooms. So therefore, the rest of the region will win.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
The familiar sights and sounds of the Mayfield bowling alley. They've lasted since the 60s, but the game is nearly over.
Yeah, it's just run its course. It's run its course as a bowling alley.
Citing accessibility and financial issues, current owners Super Strike Bowling say it's time to sell up to developers.
And it has struggled. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, it has struggled for a while. So it's just got to the point where let's do something with it and let the building have its next life.
That new life looks set to be an inner-city apartment block with 36 units and possible commercial space. Real estate agents Knight Frank are taking expressions of interest for what's being called the Eve Garden Apartments.
Mayfield's being gentrified. It's certainly turning into an urban inner-city suburb. It's so close to the city, close to the university, residential's good value.
It'll be a sad day when this bowling alley eventually closes. There's been regulars coming here since it opened 54 years ago, but they'll have a few more chances to bowl down memory lane with a handover date still a few months away.
Probably looking realistically, mid to late next year. So it's still a fair way off. We're open. You can see the place is still looking good, still looking fresh. So yeah, come on down.
Alex Heinke, NBN News. With one final hit out behind him, Clearly Innocent is now on the home straight to racing's Everest.
You've got to have the right horse, and we feel we've got the right horse to be competitive in the race. Luck in running, so many variables to go into it between now and race day, but we feel he's getting there as good as he can be, and if he runs up to his best, he'll be right in the race.
The taper to Saturday's unparalleled event began in Newcastle Harbour early this morning.
Just to cool him off after a solid gallop, just a little frolic in the water.
After another solid block of preparation following the Premier Stakes, the run that sealed his start.
Yeah, he was strong late. They ran reasonably quick in the early stages, but I think they'll go quicker again on Saturday. We wanted to see him hit the line strong with the view we knew he would improve off the run, and we feel his track work since suggested he's gone that way.
Lee says this afternoon's barrier draw provided the perfect result for his gelding.
Barrier 6 for Clearly Innocent.
Excitement is now building, along with the hype surrounding the race.
It's been huge. I really have been surprised. It's attracted everyone's attention, and it's the richest race ever ran on turf in history, so it's pretty big.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News. The game's been run and won, but the talk remains, particularly about a banner held aloft by Central Coast fans.
I thought he looked quite slimmer than me. I thought it was a bit disrespectful for Roy. Roy never spoke to us for months because he was waiting on an offer for the Mariners. He never got it till late. He would have stayed at that club if he'd have been offered the contract at the right time.
Did you notice that? Yeah, look, I saw it before the game and I was thinking to myself, that's a good looking snake. But it didn't upset me too much.
Under FFA guidelines, banners must be checked by clubs to ensure they meet regulations. Today the Mariners admitted they signed off on it, explaining it's important to allow fans to be fans.
You know, there was a sign on the highway coming down, as well. That was another silly move. They should be more interested in keeping their best players than putting signs on the highway.
Newcastle's focus is now Sunday's first home game of the season. More free tickets have become available after the 3,800 initially allocated were snapped up.
If we've got 12 to 14,000 people there this weekend who enjoy that experience, well, hopefully a lot of them is going to come back to the Wanderers game and some of them will go and buy season tickets. We want people to get behind us, and there's no better way than in giving them that taste of what it is to come to an A-League game.
Details are on our website. Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
I'd played plenty of events out on that tour, but after not being out there for a long time, it's definitely got the juices flowing, and I feel like I'm getting back to a stage where I'm getting competitive again in that arena. similar time zone. It's an easy place to get to and to travel around. And if you can get yourself established up there and play some good golf, you can have a good career.
Singleton's main street looking more like a war zone. A semi-trailer loaded with compost burns out of control, sending a plume of thick black smoke into the air, the inferno less than 30 metres from a petrol station. Beyond that, a trail of damaged cars, damaged buildings and 8 people injured.
It was quite a daunting scene for our first responders. It took quite a while to get under control.
The drama began more than 100 kilometres away in the Upper Hunter town of Murrurundi, where a truck was stolen from a petrol station. Witnesses say the rig was driven erratically down the New England highway, the driver's antics caught on dash cam, before police deployed road spikes just outside Singleton. Somehow, the truck still reached the town, the driver ploughing into several cars, mounting the footpath and continuing for 50 metres, taking out another car, sideswiping the Royal Hotel and a historic home next door. It then crashed into a power pole and burst into flames. The driver jumped from the burning rig, ending up on the road, surrounded by police. Police won't confirm reports he was armed.
Could you believe it when you stepped outside?
No, I said, this is big, this is terrible.
Truckie Clifton Brett was driving through Singleton and saw the entire drama unfold, capturing the scenes on his phone as he helped those hurt. Two of the injured were flown to John Hunter Hospital in a critical condition, a 64-year-old man with head and chest injuries and a 62-year-old woman with pelvic and hip injuries. A critical incident team is now looking into the deployment of the road spikes on the edge of town.
You think it was the right thing to do to deploy those?
I will not comment on that. That is part of the critical incident investigation.
Reporter Meredith Gibbs joins us live now from Singleton. Meredith, where's the driver of the stolen rig right now?
Paul, the 29-year-old is currently in police custody. He was arrested at the scene and taken to Singleton Hospital before being released and walked out by officers earlier this afternoon. He's likely to be charged sometime tonight. As for the town itself, we were allowed to walk through the scene late today, and what strikes you is that this could have been so much worse. It's going to be a long clean-up. Structural engineers need to assess the damaged buildings. Ausgrid needs to make sure the area is safe, while the damaged cars need to be removed. We've been told that the road is likely to reopen tomorrow morning. Back to you.
Meredith Gibbs there in Singleton.
30-year-old Scott Edwards appeared in Newcastle local court via video link from Parklea Prison. Represented by his solicitor, he pleaded not guilty to a raft of charges, among them aggravated sexual intercourse with a person aged between 10 and 14 years, indecent assault with a person under 16 years, break and enter, and installing or using a recording device. The alleged sexual assault offences were allegedly committed around 5 years ago. Edwards is a well-known amateur boxer in Newcastle and was due to defend his New South Wales welterweight title earlier this year when he was arrested and charged. Edwards first fronted court on the charges back in May and has always denied the allegations. He was supported today, as he was back then, by members of his family. Edwards will remain in custody but will appear in person before Newcastle District Court next month.
If you've grown up in the Hunter, this is a childhood memory you're likely to have. Jumping on board the Life Education van to learn all about making healthy choices. Four of these vans travel to schools across the Hunter and Central Coast every day of every school term. So when the Newcastle Permanent Charitable Foundation heard the program's towing vehicle was more than a decade old, it stepped in to help. Today, handing over the keys to a new set of wheels worth $77,000, albeit to a questionable driver.
A lot of Ks had been travelled in those 12 years. So, yeah, we were definitely on our last legs, and yeah, this is really going to make it a great opportunity for all the kids to have the vans at each school.
I think we all realise the fact that kids are probably our most important future, and that's really what the focus of the foundation is to improve that community wellbeing all the time.
Each year, 28,000 children in the Hunter benefit from the initiative. And despite a funding scare earlier this year, when it was left out of the federal budget, the future looks bright.
Really hit a nerve, clearly, with the whole nation. And like I said to you before, there were hundreds of thousands of posts on Facebook to save Harold. So we're eternally grateful for all the support. And obviously, we do make a difference because people do remember what we do.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
It wasn't the best morning for sailing, but still a great chance to get out on the water. The crew of the Young Endeavour hosted a community sail day alongside the Leapfrog Disability Service.
Today was a little bit lumpy outside the harbour, so some of them were glad to get back alongside. But in most cases, they enjoyed, the opportunity to set some sails.
The gesture is how many youth Endeavour voyages finish. Now, in its 29th year, the program is run by the Royal Australian Navy. It gathers kids from across the country for an 11-day adventure, as much about personal development as conquering the high seas.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, loved it. Chance of a lifetime.
So the aims of the program are to enhance the youth crew's teamwork, leadership, communication skills and their sense of community.
A ceremonial docking will be held at Queen's Wharf tomorrow with the family and friends of the 24 young sailors on board. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
Moss has been on light duty since rolling his ankle in the Jets' final pre-season game, but it's his likely selection in the New Zealand squad that's prompted the Jets to enlist the help of fellow veteran Ivan Nichevsky.
We may lose Glenn Moss for the Oceania qualifiers. They're playing the 5th placed South American team, and if we lose him we want Ivan to step straight in, and it's good to see that a player that started at this club is back again and he's been training really well.
The rest of the squad is still on a high following the big win over the Mariners.
They've been buzzing at training. There's a good feeling about the club, but I think they're all grounded. We know that that's just one game. We've got to keep producing for another 26 rounds.
Ben Kantarovski was rested from today's session, while Jason Hoffman and Nikolai Topor-Stanley are both supporting their respective wives, awaiting the birth of their first children. Merrick believes he'll still name the same squad for the clash with Perth.
I'm pretty old-fashioned. I like to have the 11 best players in, and if they keep doing a job, they stay in there, and the next best boy sitting on the bench. I don't change the squad very often.
The Glory hasn't lost a game in Newcastle in 6 years, but the new-look Jets aren't fazed by statistics.
They're a team that have done well, and I expect it to be a good thing for us, a very open game, because Kenny Lowe plays open football. He doesn't park the bus.
She broke records in the W League, scoring 5 goals in one game, played in the US and for the Matildas, all before turning 21. But in late 2016, Andrews stepped away from the game.
It did become a bit of a routine and kind of maybe lost that passion for the love of football, I guess. It was more of kind of just a job and I just did it every day, but having that break kind of did reignite my passion for football.
The Matildas' recent success also helped encourage Tara to return. She says she wants to be better this time.
I think at this stage W League's the main priority and I want to have a good W League, and then from there hopefully, maybe my sights might be back in on Matildas.
I think it's relieved a lot of pressure on her that she possibly felt, being here for so long and being successful for a few years with the team. So it's good to have her back, and she's looking good.
The coach is happy with the strong local contingent in the squad, but won't be announcing overseas-based signings before they land in Australia.
Last year we had a couple of hiccups announcing people and they didn't get back for the start of the season due to injury, so a little bit superstitious from that point of view.
Tommy's won quite a few titles already, but winning the R3 Cup for Yamaha is pretty prestigious. There's some awfully fast kids in that, and Tommy's cleaned up.
I haven't road raced in Europe at all, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that if it happens, or there's a lot of good opportunities to come out of racing at the GP in Australia as well.
the moment police pounced on an alleged truck thief. Officers dragging the man from a second rig before tackling him to the ground. 29-year-old Rodney Johnson was arrested on Singleton's main street yesterday, a burning trail of destruction in the background.
Like a little bloody war zone, I couldn't believe it.
While the clean-up continued today, the case of the Sydney man who's accused of stealing a semi-trailer from a Murrurundi service station was heard in Singleton local court. Charged with a raft of offences, Johnson didn't appear and was denied bail. Police say the 29-year-old displayed a blatant disregard for the safety of both the general public and police. A psychiatric assessment has now been ordered and Rodney Johnson's case has been adjourned to Newcastle local court for December. One of the injured, a 67-year-old man, is now in a serious but stable condition in hospital. Several others have been released. Members of the Singleton community were today counting their lucky stars, including pub owner Andrew Hurd, whose business was just metres from the carnage.
Lucky is a big word to be used after what happened yesterday. Lucky that no one was killed.
Not long after that, the buses come and turn down this street. Well, I mean, it could have been a busload of children there.
It's prompted renewed calls for the proposed Singleton bypass to be fast-tracked.
If we didn't have heavy vehicles going through our town, this may not have occurred.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
Police have cordoned off this secluded area of Bar Beach as they investigate the circumstances surrounding the man's death. His body was discovered earlier this afternoon floating in water in a secluded area between Bar Beach and Susan Gilmore Beach. Over the past hour or so, there's been a steady stream of officers and detectives arriving here, including one carrying a set of fishing rods, presumably belonging to the deceased. At this stage, the body is believed to be that of a rock fisherman who had been reported missing earlier. Police will remain here at the scene for the rest of the afternoon and possibly into this evening as they investigate the death. Francis Cable appeared before Newcastle District Court via video link from Long Bay Correctional Centre. Dressed in prison greens, the 84-year-old declared his innocence in the face of alleged sex offences. In total, Cable is facing 14 charges. They include 13 of indecent assault on a male and 1 of an indecent act with a male. The offences were allegedly committed against 5 boys between 1971 and 74 in the Newcastle suburbs of Merriweather, Bar Beach, Hamilton and Shortland. Cable, who's also known as Brother Romyald, was charged in March by officers attached to Strikeforce Georgiana. Cable's trial is set down for mid-next year and is expected to run for up to 6 weeks. A location is yet to be confirmed, with Cable's solicitor telling the District Court there may be an application to move the trial to Sydney. That will be decided when the matter returns to court later this month. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Ten men and 1 woman have been hospitalised here at the Calvary Mart in Newcastle since Friday after suffering suspected overdoses. Police believe all took a distinctive blue pill bearing a Superman logo. The patients, aged between 18 and 34, all sought medical treatment across 4 days, from Friday until Monday night. It's understood at least 1 suffered seizures. All have since been discharged from hospital. Investigations are underway into just what the pills, which were sold as ecstasy, actually contain. Police say this could have been a tragedy and are reminding the public of the dangers of taking illegal drugs, saying you'll never know what's in the substance or how your body will react. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
We're working on a long-term management plan for that water main, and at the moment are looking very closely at a state-of-the-art relining technique which makes it like new and actually adds another 50 years to the lifespan of that water main.
The cat is finally out of the bag.
It might be the worst kept secret in surfing in Australia, but we've officially announced today that the Port Stephens Toyota New South Wales Pro is officially on and coming.
Port Stephens has always been the front runner to replace Cronulla's International Beach Festival, which sank following sponsorship issues last year. It's been a team effort to secure the event, and now, only 3 weeks from the first heat, formal preparations can begin.
When this opportunity popped up a little bit sooner than we anticipated, we were very keen to jump on board and make sure it happened for Port Stephens.
The event will attract the eyes of the surfing world as the final chance for competitors to secure a spot on the Women's Pro Tour, but it'll also be a boost for local business and tourism.
Estimated at about $910,000 over the 2 years for the area, which again is an amazing thing for Port Stephens.
The World Surf League is trying to inspire the next generation of hunter board riders by bringing the stars to their backyard. That's why Berube was chosen to spread the sport outside of the big smoke.
We've been working with Destination New South Wales to try and take some events to regional New South Wales, and I've never been here before, and we've got these beautiful sand dunes behind us. I've never seen anything like this in Australia.
Competition will start for nearly 300 women, men and groms on the 2nd of November. Alex Heinke, NBN News. His Jets debut, a 5-1 win. Not a bad way to begin life in the Hunter.
It was like emotional game, you know, it was really emotional. You run a lot, was a lot of contact. You didn't have the time to really try to create because of this. But we were really positive, let's say, in the counter-attack, and this was good for us.
Vargas pulled up well from his 60 minutes and will again play a key role against Perth. He says life in the A-League is as he expected. Even the extra attention he received, he says that's a good thing for his team.
Will be even better because the other ones that have also a lot of quality can make the difference, so it will be even better for us, let's say.
He received limited ball early but still earned plenty of praise.
Yeah, I just can say thanks about this comment. It's very positive, I think.
Good car.
Well, very good.
There was one shock for Vargas though, the fans.
This surprised me a lot. I didn't expect that many people there. This was very, very good.
Former Jet Andrew Hull will make his Mariners debut this weekend. After missing the F3 derby, he still played a role front and centre on the club's freeway billboard.
It's good for a little bit of banner as well, so before the game, and the result didn't go away, which it would have been better if it did, hence the sign, so no, it's all good.
Before this year, Matt Hall had never gone more than 4 races without standing on the podium. 2017 has been a different story.
I think we ticked about 6 races in a row without a podium, so it was definitely starting to forget the taste of champagne, so it was a bit of a stress relief to finally get back up on there on the podium and just confirm that we can do it.
With a new look team and a new aircraft, Hall knew it would take time to rebuild. Now he's soaring again. The Australian can't go any higher than 5th in the championship, no matter where he finishes in Indianapolis. So he's going for broke.
There's a zero pressure race for us, so what I've told the team is we need to put all the other teams on notice that we're a force to be reckoned with. We're going to go out there and try and win the race. We've got nothing to lose, so let's go in there and do it, and everyone else is going to be nervous about their results.
Hall believes his late season revival is proof the team is on the right flight path.
2 podiums in a row, and we've still got more to do to the aircraft, so we've got a pretty good off-season plan with the plane, and we're all still learning, and we're actually pretty excited for next year.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
World-class design and some of the best views in Newcastle. It's how the latest East End development to hit the market is being spruiked to potential buyers.
We've fast-tracked Fabric House to market on the back of the success of the first release.
The development of this Art Deco building on Wolfe Street is the third and final building in Stage 1 to go on sale. It's 57 planned apartments originally set for market early next year.
I've been overwhelmed by the demand. I knew it'd be well received, but I think we've been surprised by just how well received it's been.
Most apartment developments are selling off the plan before construction commences, and that shows that people want to live in the city as it grows and as it becomes a more vibrant place.
The Property Council says Newcastle's market shows no indication of slowing down, while there's signs the Sydney housing market is cooling.
We know Newcastle's got the highest population growth of anywhere in New South Wales outside the Sydney Basin, so the demand will be there for years to come.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
We've now got buses that are being cancelled because they're not making any money. We've now got school kids being left behind. We've now got bus drivers not being paid.
He's come out openly and said he doesn't want to be in the transport in the next 10 to 15 years, and he's come out openly and said he wants driverless buses, trains, trams.
They're the new bikes in town, 3-wheeled, quiet and environmentally friendly. For the next 8 weeks, posties in Hamilton will be trialling the new e-bikes, an electric vehicle which can carry up to 195 kilograms.
Great passion for online purchasing, and we're seeing that through parcel growth into the region.
The move follows successful trials in Brisbane and Hobart. Parcels alone generate 70% of Australia Post's total revenue, and the bikes are certainly built to handle the load.
This has its own safety mechanisms. Being 3-wheel, again, gives us greater stability.
I love the fact that we have the weather protection. We'll be able to deliver upstairs to customers to get signature items signed for.
And it's no surprise they're certainly generating a lot of interest already.
The residents of the Hamilton area have been out and about looking at the bike. Naturally, it's a new thing coming down the street, and actually talking to the postie about this. The community feedback from across the nation is great.
And you feel quite safe?
Very safe on it. I feel that everyone sees me.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
There's all different classes, modified, stock, runabout, stand-up, endurance racing, closed course racing, so it's going to be all happening.
Picnic rugs, prams and playtime, the perfect social gathering for new mums and their bubs. The local arm of Babes and Picnics is behind the monthly meeting.
It's so important to get out of the house. There are days where you do get cabin fever. You can get caught up in just being at home. It's nice to go to the park, grab a coffee with your girlfriends and just have a sit and vent.
Close to 100 new mums turned out today at Maitland, but this picnic was about more than just a simple get-together. It was also an opportunity to discuss the difficult subject of pregnancy and infant loss as part of the National Awareness Month.
It's really, really important for the mums and for women in general, and just the general community to talk about it and maybe, lift a bit of the taboo off this conversation.
Talking and meeting new friends is the motto behind Babes and Picnics, the supportive and non-judgmental setting bringing mums back each month.
I feel really comfortable here and I don't feel out of place, and it's a really nice environment to be in.
It's really good just to hear what other mums are doing and going through.
Being able to come with other mums and meet other people in the same situation has been really lovely.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
This place, let me tell you, is fast, and I counted 7 passing spots here for our type of cars, which will make it really exciting.
His focus is on Rugby League's international showpiece, but there's been plenty for Peter Mataudia to consider in clubland, no longer playing for his beloved hometown.
It'll be pretty sad. New is my home, but it will always be there when I come back. So I'm definitely excited to go overseas and help a club that deserves to be back in Super League.
It's understood Mataudia was offered a 1-year deal to remain in the Hunter, but with a young family to look after, took up the 3-year stay with Lee Centurions. But before he goes, the World Cup. He'll play fullback for Samoa, just happy to be part of the team.
It's something that I love doing for my family. My parents are back in Samoa at the moment. We get to see them next week. So yeah, I can't wait, and I can't wait to see the people in Samoa next week.
Unfortunately, it won't be alongside his brother Sione, ruled out of the tournament due to the ongoing effects of concussion.
He was pretty gutted. His first camp was early this year and he really enjoyed it, and all he spoke about was the World Cup towards the end of the year. So I'll definitely be having him in the back of my mind when I play, but he's only 20 years old, so he gets to do this for another 10 years, so he's pretty lucky.
First up for Samoa, tonight's trial against the country under-23s. 8 Newcastle players will line up, including 21-year-old Jacob Gagai, the Lakes United flyer and brother of Dane, is hoping the clash can springboard him back into the minds of NRL clubs.
It's a great opportunity for them. They get to showcase their skills.
Western Suburbs back rower James Elias will also live out his own World Cup dream, overnight named in Lebanon's squad. Coached by Brad Fittler, Robbie Farah will skipper the side, with Mitchell Moses among the other big names. And Brendan Elliott's 1-year deal with the Titans was confirmed today. He left Newcastle last month. It's believed the Knights were interested in retaining the utility back, but he's now reunited with family on the Gold Coast.
When I first got the email and the invitation to come along, I just thought it's an opportunity not to be missed.
I hope everyone gets behind it. You know, we'll actually be on the plane, so if I do get off the plane and find out that it's won, I think I'll have a cold drinking celebration before we take the mountain on.